Any views or opinions expressed on KUR are not necessarily those of Kutztown University, Kutztown University Student Government, Kutztown University Student Services Incorporated, KUR staff and management, or other affiliated organizations.
Kutztown Live. Kutztown University Campus's campus and community interest radio magazine. You can call Kutztown Live at 610-683-4859. And now, your host for Kutztown Live, Juliana Jablonski.
Good afternoon and welcome to Kutztown Live, Kutztown University's campus and community talk show. I'm your host, Juliana Jablonski, here with Mike O'Mara, taking the place of George Flaidlin this afternoon. Hello, Mike.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for inviting me here.
It's great to have you. I was not here last week for Kutztown Live due to Thanksgiving break, but the show still went on, so be sure to go over on our YouTube for the podcast of that. Today, we will be speaking to bowling coach Ambrose. We will also be talking about the KUSGB elections, and we have an interview from Mike Regensburger here, and then we will also be hearing from Justin about the new issue coming out from the Keystone. Here with us now is Mike O'Mara and bowling coach Ambrose. Hello, and welcome to Kutztown Live.
Well, thanks for having us. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having us here. Appreciate it.
Do you prefer Joe, Joseph, Coach Ambrose?
Whatever you feel comfortable with. I'm okay.
I'll call you Joe, I guess.
That's fine.
All right. Well, first of all, Joe, thank you for coming here. I really appreciate this.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we just talked before the show started about how there's, I don't want to say lack of interaction, but you said a lot of people don't know that we have a bowling team.
That's very true.
Yeah.
My players will attest to that. A lot of people, they wear their stuff around campus, and a lot of people will come up to them and say, oh, wow, we have a bowling team. And this is our 11th season.
11th season here on campus. And if I'm not mistaken, you're D1.
We are. We do compete at the D1 level. Our national championship is a D1 championship.
And so you said you're the only D1. The bowling team's the only D1 on campus.
Pretty much, yeah. We just went to a tournament in Delaware right before Thanksgiving where we got beat up pretty good by most of the D1 schools.
I saw that. Yeah.
But it was a good learning experience for us. We played a lot of ranked teams, and it's never a bad thing to play up.
Yeah, I saw. I think at the bottom of the press release, 14-15 this against ranked teams at this point.
Yeah.
What does that say to you as the coach?
I know we're capable of beating better teams. We just haven't quite gotten there to do it all the time yet, but we're working on it, and every day we're trying to get a little bit closer to doing that.
Okay, and at this point, are you guys halfway through the season, a quarter way, or how? I mean, sorry.
Our season doesn't end. Our conference championship is not until the last weekend in March.
Okay.
If we make postseason, you're looking at the third week of April.
Wow.
And we started October 1st.
It's like NHL season, NBA season. It's constant.
Yeah.
And how far do you travel? Where do you go?
We don't go quite as far as we used to, but I mean, this weekend we're going to Wilmington, Delaware, which is like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Last weekend was Millsboro, Delaware, Maryland Eastern Shores tournament. That was almost maybe a little under 4-hour drive, so it's not horrible. We're lucky enough that we host 3 tournaments a year, so teams will come to us. We're the only school in the country that hosts that many NCAA bowling events.
Where do you host them?
Either at Easter Lanes or Burke's, and we're doing a one-day event at J Lanes in Douglasville.
Yeah, that's my hometown, J Lanes.
Cool.
Yeah, I saw that.
We practice there on Wednesday nights.
Okay, well, there you go. One thing I want to ask, you mentioned about the season. You guys are right now 25-15, I believe.
Right.
Last year there was a sub 500 record. This record is currently at the moment above 500.
Right.
Do you see that lasting, and how so?
This weekend we should do really well because it's a D2, D3 invite. So it's schools that are comparable to us, and only one ranked school will be there. So I'm expecting us to do well. Of course, with college athletics, you never know. So you have to prepare for everything. This would be the end of our first half, so we would like to to finish really well and get our record up as good as we can. Because the new rankings will come out in December, and we're trying to get back in the top 25 overall.
Mm-hmm. And where are you at right now?
We're ranked 8th among D2, D3 schools. They do 2 separate polls. We're not in the top 25 in the D1 poll. We haven't been in there since last November, and this is the longest period we've been out of that poll in 9 years.
Yeah.
So we had to really rebuild last year. I lost 7 seniors 2 years ago, and
Wow.
last year was a completely relatively new team except for 1 starter. And then this year we brought in a few new people, and some of our current sophomores have gotten some playing time from last season. So it's been a process to get back to where we were.
Now, this is one question because I wish I was more familiar with bowling.
Sure.
The more I look into it, starters.
Mm-hmm.
How does that process work in bowling? How do you select starters? How many starters are there?
I only can play 5 at a time.
Okay.
But I travel on the road with 8. We do need subs because the days are pretty long. Our competition days are anywhere from 6 to 8 hours.
Wow.
We play 5 matches in a day against usually 5 different schools, and it's a really long day. And just trying to figure out when to eat and what to eat, and hydration and energy, and there's so many ups and downs. I can't even explain it to you, but it's that I give the girls credit. They go through an awful lot.
And what exactly is a starter for some of us who don't know much about bowling? Is that just the person who bowls first, or?
Well, no, I'll try to explain this simple. There's actually two different formats that we use. Mm-hmm. One is called traditional format, which is 5-on-5, which is like if you went to your local bowling center and bowled in a league, that's what you would bowl.
Okay.
You know, 5 on one team, 5 on another. You bowl. Everybody bowls their own game, and the high score wins. Period. Mm-hmm. It's really simple. But what we do about 65% of our matches is called something that's titled Baker.
That's what that is. I was so curious about that.
It's where I pick 5 people, and the person that bowls in the first frame, somebody different goes in the second, somebody different goes in the third, and then usually my 2 so-called best players, or who I think can finish the best, will go 4th and 5th, and then the process repeats in the 6th through 10th. Okay. So each person only bowls 2 frames. To make up one game.
So at the bottom of the statistic, it says traditional pinfall and then Baker portion pinfall. That's
right.
What that means.
Right.
Oh, I spent like 20 minutes trying to figure out what that meant, and I could not. So that's amazing. It's
definitely unique. It's even when I'm recruiting, it's something that I have to explain to parents. They don't really get it, and a lot of bowling centers don't do it because they don't get as many games out of people when they bowl Baker. Mm-hmm. So it's really something that's only done in college for the 4 years that they go. And once college is over, they probably won't do it very much again for the rest of their life. Mm-hmm. But it's a unique team atmosphere. The thing I can compare it to is if you had a baseball team and each person got 1 strike to make 3 outs.
Okay.
It's very similar to that. And I can make substitutions in between, like if I have a righty that leaves a 7-pin, or if I have a lefty, that's in that leaves a 7-pin, I can put a righty in to make the spare.
Wow, I didn't even consider that.
So it's almost like being a baseball manager, knowing what my players can do and what they can't do.
I never even thought about that.
Yeah, it's and then lanes change throughout the day. There's just a lot of different things that go on.
One thing, I was looking through some stats. I was actually looking at most recent, the November 17th and 19th Invitational, I believe. Mm-hmm. That was in Delaware, you said?
Yes.
Okay. I was looking at some of the stats. I was looking at averages. I was looking at strikes. Mm-hmm. Those are what stands out. How much you score,
right.
How many strikes you get. What stat, though, I know what spares are. I know what strikes are. What
right.
stat, from your perspective, really speaks to the success of an individual or at least a team? Something that people wouldn't think of.
Their non-split spare percentage.
What does that mean?
That means every time they don't, like if you leave a 7-10, that's called a split. You're not, 1 pin on each side. You're not really expected to make that. Mm-hmm. But something that's like 1 pin by itself or 2 pins that are close together, we call those makeable spares. Our goal is to have everybody over 80%. We haven't achieved that yet, but we're working on it. Mm-hmm. And tonight in practice, they're throwing their normal shots for about 20 minutes, and then they're going to spend the rest of the time throwing their spare ball. Because if we don't make spares, we can't stay with the top 10 or 15 teams in the country. We just can't.
Yeah.
So that's one area that we really have to get better at.
How do you feel about, you mentioned that you had a lot of seniors leave. You had 7 seniors leave 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yes.
I looked over your roster. I think there's 10 active members at this point.
I actually have 12.
12, sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
University says 10. Oh, boy.
Okay. I have 12.
There's some seniors. I think there's a junior.
There's 2 seniors.
There's a junior or 2.
Yes, there's 1 junior.
Okay, and then there's primarily freshmen and sophomores.
Pretty much, yeah.
How do you see, I think I can't remember the name specifically, but one freshman really stood out statistically when I was looking over the stats. I have several names here.
Okay, I could.
Was it Delp?
Kiana Delp, yeah.
Yeah, I think her name really stood out in terms of statistics.
Correct.
Yeah, do you see her leading, or do you see other players, the young players, how do you see them leading you guys into the next step?
Kiana has done a great job so far as an incoming freshman, and that's not always the case. Sometimes it takes a year or 2 to get used to this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Balancing school and competition, just like any athlete. She's done a great job. Angela Kozma is a sophomore. She's done an awesome job for us. Jen Fitz is a senior. She's one of our co-captains with Melanie Aptaker. Jen started out as a freshman. She didn't even travel. I mean, she didn't even play. And now she's a starter, and she's one of our most important people. I hate mentioning, I know the university wants us to mention individual people and standouts and all that, but what I tell the girls all the time is that we wouldn't even exist if we weren't representing our school.
Yeah.
And all anybody ever asks me is, how did your team do? So as much as the individual stats determine whether they play or not, it depends on if we can do things together, if we're going to be a successful team or not.
Well, what stat stands out in terms of playing together? What really just impacts an overall team's success?
Being able to fill frames, not the more open frames you have, the more adrenaline you're giving to the opposing team, especially when you get into head-to-head matches like we do. And that's basically how our teams are selected for nationals, is by win-loss record. Until this season, which we now have automatic qualifiers, which means if we win the ECC conference in March, we get a play-in match to go to nationals for NCAAs, which is the first time that's ever occurred in our sport after 14 years.
Wow.
That's something that when I was on the national committee, we pushed for, because we're trying to get more D1 schools to add the sport so we can split off and have our championship for D2, D3, and they can have theirs for D1. Because let's face it, the recruiting and the budgets are completely different. There's a reason that, D2 schools don't play D1s during the season.
Yeah.
It's just not a fair fight for the most part. It's not bad in bowling, but it's starting to. It's the distance between the higher end schools is starting to push away from us a little bit. But we can, when you play somebody in a match, you can beat them no matter what. It doesn't matter, where you came from or whatever. So
I like that. I like that a lot. You could be a D2, D3, and you could still swipe the floor with them.
A D2 school is our national champion, McKendree.
Wow. Okay.
They are the first D2 school to win a national championship in our sport.
That's interesting.
And Kutztown is actually one of only 6 D2 schools or D3 schools that have gone to NCAAs since the inception in 2004.
And so when you say inception, you mean the bowling team here at campus?
No, I mean bowling as a varsity sport.
Okay.
Picked up by the NCAA. 2004 was the first year.
Wow. Okay, because I think I've seen it on ESPN or something like the ESPN2 or.
That's why our season is so long, because there's a contract out with nationals are the second week of April, and by rule we can't start till October 1st, and so we're basically all getting our teams ready, trying to get to nationals and be ready in April, because that's when our postseason is, and that's why it's so long.
You mentioned recruitment. There's only 12 players. How do you have any tryouts, or is it just solely based on recruitment?
I don't have tryouts. I have what I call a team trial. 3-day team trial. The first 3 days in October, it's brutal, and they go to 3 different bowling centers, 3 different lane patterns, and it's not just score. I keep different stats that, I don't want to complicate it, but the top 8, that's my first roster, period. And that puts a lot of pressure on them. So if they didn't do their work in the off season in the summer or, early fall, then it shows like really quick. You can't hide. And and then I do little mini trials throughout the season, to give players a chance to play up or whatnot. So,
to a prospective, maybe a student here on his campus, so it's solely based on team trials. You can't, like, as a student, consider joining, or maybe you go to freshman and then sophomore year, like, I want to join the bowling team. I was good in high school. You
can be a walk-on, sure.
Okay, you can. That's an option. Okay, I was curious about that.
Sure, I've had walk-ons be very successful here, and you can be a walk-on. You just have to. It's an NCAA sport, so you have the same rules as every other as football, basketball, and everybody else does. You have to be an NCAA certified athlete.
And I've had people come up to me and go, "The bowling team's a club." And I'm like, "No, it's not. It's not.
It's a club on the men's side."
Yeah.
There's 250 men's teams across the country, and there will probably never be a men's NCAA sport. I doubt it. It's a Title IX thing, and that's why we exist. But, it's a great opportunity for our players and girls at other schools. When I started, when bowling started in 2004, nationwide, there was 40 teams. Now there's 80.
That's 100% growth for them.
Yeah, it took the last couple of years. There's been a big jump. We've probably added about 20 teams in the last maybe 3-4 years.
And I had the Keystone editor-in-chief talking to me about this. He covered a bowling tournament that a couple of years back, and he actually mentioned you got, 700-800 wins at this point? Something like that?
Something like that.
So that's a good thing.
There's a lot of losses in there, too.
Yeah?
So.
Let's not talk about those.
Well, that's part of athletics. I mean, I think if you look at it, I think I've coached probably over 1,300 matches here or something like that. I know it was close to 1,300 before the season started, and we've already played 40, and we're going to play another 13 this weekend. So,
and what this weekend? It's where, what time, and can people watch or listen to it? In any capacity?
If the Wi-Fi is good in the bowling center, sometimes we'll stream it. We'll try to do
like a video stream
on the Cube. Yeah.
Okay.
And then Brian Salvador will put a link up.
Shout out to Brian.
Yeah. So I'll try to get it set up for the weekend and see if we can live stream it so people can see. Because let's face it, bowling centers aren't like arenas. It's not like you can go, set up bleachers. Even though we do for our January event, which is one of the largest in the country, we do have bleachers there at Easter Lanes. 32-lane center, we have 28 teams, which is crazy. And then with all the parents on step stools and everything, it's you got to see it to believe it. I can't even explain it to you how nuts it is.
Coach, you on the Twitter? You on the Facebook in any capacity, social media?
I have my own Twitter thing, and Kutztown Bowling has a Twitter handle as well. I've just been having trouble using it, but I'll try to get better at it.
I was just curious.
I'm working on it.
We have a section of KU Sports and Athletics on the Twitter, and you know what? It's right on there. So I pay attention to it, and I'm
glad you do.
We're gonna push you guys for the foreseeable future. So
thanks. I appreciate that.
This weekend, the bowling team is gonna travel to Delaware, do us proud. So, Coach, it's been absolutely phenomenal talking to you.
Thank you so much for having us, sir. I appreciate it.
No problem. All right.
You know that the ice cream scoop has the power to make a child smile, and that by slowing us down, the traffic light can keep us going. You know that the golf tee brings friends together, that the mailbox keeps them connected. You know that the cataract laser helps you look to the future, while the pacemaker ensures that there's a future to be seen. You know that the lawnmower, the clothes dryer, and the elevator make life easier, that the blood bank makes life possible. You know that these things we count on every day started as ideas. But did you know all these ideas came from the minds of African Americans? Support minority education today so we don't miss out on the next big idea tomorrow. The United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. Please visit uncf.org or call 1-800-332-UNCF. brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
Hi, we are Pack 183, and we love listening to KUR.
My name's Eric Wolf. The sun is not unlike a pot of boiling water in some ways. It bubbles, it churns, and occasionally its magnetic fields will get all tangled up. However, when these magnetic fields get too tangled up, they snap back to their correct
It's
position,
telescopic topics,
often in
a look
violent
into the
ways.
world above us.
When this happens, it creates a large cloud of radiation, as well as disturbing the surface of the sun. These two events are called solar flares and coronal mass ejections. Now, the difference between these two terms is that a solar flare deals only with radiation such as X-rays, while a coronal mass ejection deals with actual plasma from the sun being thrown out into space. Although these two events are two completely separate occurrences, they very often will happen simultaneously. There is a definite correlation between the two. And speaking of correlations, these two events usually happen when there are also a lot of sunspots that are visible. Sunspots don't form unless there's a lot of magnetic activity happening in the area. And this activity is what triggers a solar flare. Once the radiation from the flare is in space, it, of course, will blast into every planet in its way, including the Earth. If the planet has an active core and a strong magnetic field, it will be able to protect itself from most of the radiation. However, if a planet does not have a magnetic field, its surface will be blasted by radiation. This, although not damaging to the planet, will certainly harm any theoretical life. When one of these waves of particles hits the Earth, it does a number of things. It can disrupt satellites, electronics, and power systems. It also causes a lot of activity in the ionosphere, whose disturbance is observed to study solar flares. Its disturbance has a side effect, though, and that is that it creates a spectacular aurora borealis. These events can be viewed sometimes as low as the United States when there is a strong solar storm happening. All of these facts, when put together, show that the sun is not just a boring old ball of gas floating in space, but rather is a sleeping giant that could awaken at any second with a tumultuous rage.
Telescopic topics, a look into the world above us. Stay tuned to KUR for more telescopic topics. Telescopic Topics is a production of the KU Physical Sciences Department and is recorded by KU astronomy students in the studios of KUR. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Hello, and welcome back to Kutztown Live, Kutztown University's campus and community talk show. Before that short break there, we heard a bit of an interview from Mike O'Mara and Coach Ambrose. And here with me now again is Mike O'Mara to speak to us a little bit about the KUSGB elections.
Turn on my mic.
It's on.
It is?
It's on.
I can't hear myself. Uh-oh. Either way, hi everybody. My name is Michael O'Mara. Though next semester I will be the co-host with Juliana here for Kutztown Live. I'm currently the KUSGB's, Kutztown University Student Government's PR chair. And right now, what is happening? Elections. Elections are happening. Woo! What does that mean for you? Well, if you are a KU student who pays a student activity fee, you are eligible to vote. The only thing you need is an access to KUnited. You log into KUnited, the good old fun little free social media format program, whatever you want to call it. Is that what it is? Sure. You go on there and you type in KU governance voting booth, or you just it's a link on student government, and you click on the KUSGB for voting booth, and you have an option. You have several options. You have an option to vote for at-large rep. You have an option to vote for the corresponding college that you are part of. For instance, I'm in visual and performing arts, so I have access to vote for the visual and performing arts representative. Same goes if you're College of Business. Same goes if you're College of Education, College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. You have options. There are a total of 30 candidates, and so far about 400 people have voted in about 24 hours. So a significant amount of people have participated so far, and it does not stop there. It starts and ends with you. So you go on there, they have special blurbs, just rundowns of who they are, what they can do on the board, and why you should vote for them. Read them, figure them out. understand their perspective, stalk them a little bit on social media to make sure they're PG. You know what? So I'm gonna endorse this candidate.
When is the last day you can vote? When does voting close?
Sure. It started Monday, yesterday at 12 p.m. It ends this Friday, December 1st at 12 p.m.
All right. And when are the winners announced?
The winners are announced, I believe, the next week.
Okay.
We have a promotional table for the elections in Old Main's lobby Thursday from 11 to 1 p.m. So there should be people that are running. They'll be there. They'll be promoting themselves. You get free folders, free stickers, free buttons, free cups, free pens, and you have the ability to vote. But it's something you can do right from your phone, right from your computer. And if you check your KU email, you probably got 17 links about it, or 17 messages from Leah Casellia, if that name rings a bell. It's because she's sending you the vote now links. So vote. It's easy, it's simple, and participating in that process is something that you pay for. And student government dedicates the $2.5 million to make sure from your student activity fees collectively and then gives it to organizations like KUR. So who you vote for, who you nominate to be in that, it counts. It really does. They're there for you. They're there to represent your needs, wants, concerns, and demands to administration. So it's a very important process. To find more information about it, go on at KUSGB on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And if you have issues doing that, use hashtag KUSGB. We're there, we're around, and we're located in MSU 194. So you come on, swing on down, maybe 196. It's one of those. You come on down throughout this week and ask. We're there, and we're happy to help.
Alrighty.
That's my blub.
Sounds good.
Thank
Get
you.
out there and vote this week.
Yes.
Over in the other room on the other side of the KUR studio, we have Justin from the Keystone. Hello, and how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Just wonderful.
Hi, Justin.
Hi, Mike.
So there's a new issue of the Keystone coming out.
Yes, there is. Our final issue of the semester is coming out on December 7th.
Right.
It'll be the 5th issue of the semester.
That's next Thursday, right?
Next Thursday, so it's coming out quick. We'll be, working to finish up all our behind-the-scenes work this week and this weekend and get it out to students next Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any big stories we should be on the lookout for in the coming paper?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of stuff to look out for.
What, Justin?
Like what? Well, let me tell you. There's going to be a story on the potential of a new PR major here in Kutztown. That's something
I have no idea about that.
There's been a lot of interest about.
Oops.
Because there are so many PR minors on campus.
Yes,
and,
there is.
Not a major for such a growing field
Mm-hmm.
and such a growing area of interest in terms of education. So there will be something on that. There's going to be an article on local effects of the opioid epidemic and how that affects the Kutztown area.
Okay.
There may be a story on the domestic dispute that happened not too long ago that ended in the death of a Kutztown woman. Not too sure on that yet, but shifting over to arts and entertainment, we're going to have a story on the Vagina Monologues, a story on the Eck House Climate Change exhibit, and the Experimentation Improvisation Gallery review.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're also going to have a political editorial cartoon, which is a new edition this semester. We've had another one published. And then we're going to have a story on an event that happened over in the fairgrounds today.
I was going to ask about that.
Yes, Kutztown, the town of Kutztown, the borough of Kutztown, broke a record for the world's largest funnel cake ever made.
How big?
Yeah, I was going to ask, how big was it?
Justin?
It was 30 inches in diameter.
30 inches in diameter.
I thought it was going to be a little bigger. I didn't know what to expect, but there was a big crowd that came out, and the event as a whole was being filmed to hopefully be broadcasted in a series. It sounds like it's Food Network.
I
on
think
the
I
Food Network
saw
TV show.
like an ad for saying it will be on
Right.
the Food Network somewhere along the way.
There were some talks there that originally the goal was for the Discovery Channel or the Travel Channel or one of those. I'm not sure. But at least the poster that they were promoting was for the Food Network. So there were cameramen there. There was a producer there who was running the whole event, and it was pretty cool. It showcased a little bit of the Pennsylvania German heritage in the area. There were, people speaking Pennsylvania German, people singing in Pennsylvania German. So it was a pretty cool little event, and we have a video up on our Facebook page, and we're going to have a photo spread in the paper and an article covering it. So it'll be something to look out for sure.
Sweet.
How How do people find you on social media?
How do
Justin
people find
Sweitzer,
us on social media?
Editor-in-Chief of the Keystone?
Well, they can find us on Twitter. Our handle is the Keystone News. And then they can find us on Facebook by just searching for the Keystone. We don't have an Instagram page.
Get one.
We used to have an Instagram page.
Get it back.
We will get it
go?
back. We'll get it back, and
Okay.
hopefully we'll get it up and running for next semester. And there's a whole new staff coming in next semester. We have 6 new people on our executive board, so you might see some new things tried out in regards to both online and the print edition. So that's something to keep an eye out for as next semester gets on its way. So.
And you have a new advisor next semester.
We do have a new advisor, Patrick Walters. A journalism professor here at Kutztown, is the new advisor of the Keystone starting next spring.
There you go.
Sweet. I was at that Fall Fest a few weeks ago, and someone was like, "Hi, would you like a copy of the Keystone?" And I was like, "Of course I would."
That's
Sponsored
awesome.
by SGB.
I'm glad
that
to
was
hear
a great
that.
event.
I love when they offer it. I'm like, "Hey, I know these people."
There you go.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on to Kutztown Live this afternoon. We will be right back with an interview from Mike Regensburger.
Yeah, but Dan Donahue.
I'm so glad we left that stupid party.
No joke.
Hey, baby, are you an overdue library book? 'Cause you got fine written all over you.
Ugh, barf. What about that girl with the hoop earrings?
Ridiculous. When she was dancing...
Megan, look out! Look out!
Oh my God, Becky. Becky, are you okay?
My arm. I think it's broken.
Can you bend it?
It's already bent in the wrong direction.
I can't believe this. I'm so sorry. I only had a few drinks. I was just buzzed.
Really? Just buzzed?
Yeah, I swear.
Well, in that case, my arm is fine. Ah, that's better.
You're really okay? You're serious, Becky?
No, genius. I'm not serious. Ow! My arm, it hurts.
Buzzed driving. Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Ad Council, and this station.
Listen to KUR every Saturday night from 8 to 10 Eastern Time for Ambassador Radio. Pure world music. Classic and experimental styles from different countries. True indie music experience. Hear it here on www.kutztown.edu/KUR. KUR, the radio voice of Kutztown University.
We're on the phone. We're on the phone live from Scotland with former KUR member and political commentator Dan Donahue. Dan Donahue, welcome back to KUR's airwaves.
Doctor, it is great to be back on KUR.
Fantastic having you here. And, of course, you know, many of us here internally remember you, but for any listeners who might not remember you, tell us a little bit about, how you went from KU to Scotland.
Well, I mean, it's been a long journey. I graduated from Kutztown in 2012, but I actually, as you said, I was a former KUR host where I hosted the Dan Donahue Show. Then I actually went to England, where I went to grad school, and I hosted another radio show there. And now, here in 2017, I am living in Scotland. I'm doing like a teacher's training kind of certification course.
Mm-hmm.
It's been about, I can't believe it, I was thinking of this the other day, it's been over 5 years since I graduated from Kutztown.
Wow, that's almost unfathomable for me to believe myself. That's really amazing. So is it your goal to, you're doing a teaching certification thing, is it your goal to eventually live abroad permanently or come back? What's your plan?
At this point, I would honestly say, I mean, look, I really like Scotland. I've had a great time here so far. I've only been here 3.5 months. Let's see. Yeah, about 3.5 months, but it's been great. If I could stay here, I would. I'm going to definitely apply for jobs here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very much interested in staying. It's not that easy with, with the whole visa situation and everything. But if an opportunity presents itself, I would certainly consider staying.
Awesome. So what made you choose Scotland? I know you've always been very interested in going abroad and just that whole area over there. But what made you hone in on Scotland? Was that what was available, or did you specifically look for that?
Well, I'd always said, because I returned from England in 2013, and I'd always said, I wanted to go back overseas. And what essentially happened was, I started looking into this, like last spring, because I was living in New York, as you know, at the time, working at a boarding school. It was a great time there. It was awesome. But I decided that I wanted to, go back to school. So I began looking, and I got accepted to a few different schools. But the school that gave me the best deal was the school I'm at now, called the University of Strathclyde.
Okay.
I received a Dean Scholarship to come here. So it was, the choice was pretty easy at that point. And plus, I'd heard Scotland is kind of renowned for their education, something I didn't know before, but the more I did research, Scotland is really renowned for their education programs. So it's kind of also attracted me to Scotland as well.
That's really awesome. So tell us a little bit. I mean, this is kind of a loaded question, because you could probably go on and talk for an hour or two, but try to summarize.
Yeah.
What has been some of your key highlights with living in Scotland?
I would say living here so far, I'm living in Glasgow. Glasgow is a beautiful city. If you like, nightlife, stuff like that, there's a lot of great pubs and bars and other things here to kind of, partake in. And just the sheer beauty of everything. I live right next to a clock tower called the Toll Booth, which is, I think, made in, I believe, the 1600s, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk by this thing every day, and I'm like, oh my God. And I see it right outside my apartment, and I'm like, wow, this is, it's incredible. And I've begun, unfortunately, I think, to almost take that for granted, but it's this incredible thing. So certainly just those small things, I would say, every day are kind of the highlight. But I've definitely enjoyed getting to see the sites. I've been to Loch Lomond, obviously here in Glasgow. I've spent a fair amount of time in Edinburgh. And if I were to say out of all the cities I've been to anywhere in the world, Edinburgh is, the most beautiful city. I mean, look, Philadelphia is great, New York, even London, they're great places, but Edinburgh just is the most beautiful city in the world, and if you've never been there, you have to see it.
Wow.
I'd probably say out of, again, you're right, I could probably go on for a long time, and I'd probably say those are definitely my highlights so far.
Really awesome. Now, of course, one of the other highlights since you've been over there is, you when you went to England the first time a number of years back for your master's, you had a radio show for a while on a college radio station, and now you're here at this school, and it sounds like they have a college radio station too, and you're a part of it. Tell us a little bit about how you got going with that.
Yeah. So. That's a good point, Mike. As you know, obviously I've always been interested in, ever since I had the Dan Donahue show at KUR, I've always been interested in college radio and radio in general. So when I got here, I inquired about it, and I saw what program they had, and it's called Strathclyde Fusion, the radio station, the school radio station. And I began to look into it, and I began talking to the people involved, and they're like, yeah, we'd actually really like some talk shows, political talk, stuff like that. And so now for the last few months, I've been hosting Donahue Nation, which airs every Monday at about 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You have to go to strathclydefusion.com to listen to it. But yeah, Donahue Nation has been tremendously successful.
Good.
I can't tell you how much fun it's been. And it reminds me of the days when I was at KUR. I'm having a great time doing it. I'm I think really making a big impact. The fans, I've had a lot of fans obviously follow from the days of the Dan Donahue show, but I've had a lot of new fans as well. I've really used social media now to great effect, which I really don't think I understood back in 2011 when I was at KUR. So I really think I've stepped that up in a manner of speaking, the social media. But we're doing great. Possibly launching a T-shirt line in the next few weeks.
Yeah, very nice. Very impressive.
Everything's great.
And really happy that KUR is able to provide that inspiration for you. So talk a little bit about, the theme of your show. I mean, when you were here at KUR, you did like a liberal left-leaning show, and then you kind of morphed it into politics, but also with some world events as well. What's the theme you're taking with your show over there now? Is it still left-leaning politics, and are you focusing on U.S. politics, or are you focusing on Scotland politics? Are you focusing on world politics? What's your focus?
Well, I'd probably say the format-wise, it is very much KUR inspired, from back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very much like the Dan Donahue show as it appeared on KUR. I would say, though, I'm trying to talk about world events as I did at KUR, but I would say, honestly, and I'm not even sure I even intended this to be, but the main focus has actually been U.S. politics.
Okay.
Just simply because I know, when I hosted the Dan Donahue show way back when, the big thing that year was the Republican primary leading up to the 2012 election.
Right.
And, there was a lot of news to come out of that. You had the disaster that was Rick Perry, and you had things like that. But honestly, I can't help but talk about the U.S. presidential politics every week because Donald Trump just gives me so much information, and he does so much just outrageous things that it really takes up a lot of my time.
Right.
So I would still say I'm pretty left-leaning in my politics, although, I have in the Facebook group and, on the show been critical of the left wing as well.
Mm-hmm.
I really am not so sure
right
about a Democratic victory in 2018. And as I kind of tried to tackle political correctness and a few other things a few weeks ago, I really think the left wing does things that are going to hurt us from winning elections. So, as much as I'd like to say I'm, left wing, I've also been very critical of it as well.
I agree with that, and I appreciate that, and I do kind of similar with my social media stuff online as well, as you've probably seen.
Yeah.
From a psychological perspective, I'd like to ask this question. You'd said that when you were in England a number of years ago that you know how it is here in the U.S. Us Americans, all we do is talk about politics. Almost every other word out of our mouth is politics, politics, politics. When you said you went over to England, you said people over there really don't talk about it as much, and when you want to talk about politics, they it's like okay, yeah, it's kind of important, but not. What is it like in Scotland? I mean, is talking about Donald Trump in Scotland important to people, or tell us how that works out?
Well, I guess if I'm going to compare the Scottish and the English, I would say that from my observation, the Scottish talk about politics a lot more than say the English would. But as far as, because they're, very much have the internal politics of the UK. It's a very kind of intricate dance because you have, Scotland, which, could potentially become an independent country in the next few years.
Right.
You have those kind of politics going on. As far as what they think of Trump, and the willingness to talk about him, yeah, they're more than willing to engage you in discussion about Trump. To be honest, I have not met one person here that can say anything good about him. I haven't met anyone who said support him or whatever. Whereas, years ago when I was in the UK, 80% of people liked Obama. There, he had some critics.
Right.
But now, there's not one person from either Scotland or anywhere else in Europe has said they supported Trump. I've not met one person.
So from a political perspective, and now we're getting into kind of like a deeper question, Dan. From a political perspective, what happened? So much has happened in the past year since this guy has taken office. From a political perspective, is what's happening over here directly or somehow indirectly affecting life and politics in Scotland?
I'd probably have to say yes or no. I would say overall, I think 2016, when you look at Brexit and the whole Trump thing, that was a huge thing for the right wing.
Right.
And you saw a guy in Austria actually a few weeks ago, one of the youngest guys ever to be elected there. He was a right wing candidate. He's been elected. Now you're seeing in Germany, possibly Angela Merkel may be stepping down soon. I was reading about that, so that's a possibility. She's being challenged hard from the far right. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to say because you saw Macron The French guy, he won. He's kind of more of a liberal leftist candidate. He won election.
Right.
So I would say it did have an effect, and it may still be having an effect, but for how much longer, I don't know. It's really up in the air. But what I will say is, certainly from my perspective, and I think a lot of people would agree with this, the Donald Trump presidency is really hurting the United States image abroad. Because I noticed being in the UK, just in talking to various people from Europe before, a lot of people respected Obama. They thought Obama's leadership was strong, and the United States was strong under him. But now, I'm sad to report that although generally people in Scotland still like Americans, they are less and less, and Europe as well, is less and less seeing the United States as a world leader under Trump, and more or less is just a joke. And and I would say that is terrible for not only American business, but for the American agenda in the world. It's just really bad for us.
Yeah, and that's something that I agree with you totally there, Dan. That's something I would have to say is that Obama, you could disagree with him on certain things, but at least with him, you had an element of decorum and professionalism and world respect. But it seems that Donald Trump tends to just put out this aura of just like it's a big joke, it's a big circus, it's a big laughing stock, So that's something that I've noticed, and it sounds like you're seeing that over there as well.
Yeah, and that's pretty much everyone's opinion of him, and I think that honestly, this is why if you're the Democratic Party, they need to be looking at this, and they need to be looking at what's going on around the world and how people are viewing the United States, and we need to be, kind of afraid of this. And I'm not saying, I'm certainly not trying to spread outrage culture or fear, but I'm just saying as Americans, we need to take a hard look at this, and we need to say, look, the Democrats obviously are very weak. They're not really that great, but you know what? We need to slow down the Trump agenda by winning in 2018. And then in 2020, we need to get a respectable candidate that might not be the best, but certainly isn't the worst, which Donald Trump almost at this point is. And we need to have that person by 2021, be in power to restore sanity to America. We need to make America sane again.
Right.
Because if we don't do that, if Trump gets another 4 years in office, I'm sure a lot of the rednecks will be happy, but it will not be good for our people.
I think you might. That was funny, Dan, because I think you might have come up with the Democrats, tagline for 2020. When Trump used "Make America Great Again, Make America Sane Again." I like that.
Yeah, thank you. I've been saying that for weeks. Make America sane again.
Yeah,
that's what they need to do. And honestly, as weak as the Democrats are, if they just engage on substance and are willing to take him on, we can win. We can win.
Yeah,
we can do it. But if not, then I see no reason why they should win.
So taking yourself mentally, well, first of all, we're just a reminder to our listeners, we're talking to former KUR political commentator Dan Donahue. We're calling in live from Scotland right now, where he's over there, student teaching. Taking yourself mentally out of Scotland for a second and putting yourself back here in America and what we're doing, what's going on with our political landscape. How damaging to the left was the revelation a couple of weeks ago about Hillary Clinton's crew kind of basically rigging the Democratic primary? Did that really kind of put the nail in the coffin for the Democratic Party, or how can we recover from that and be respected again?
Well, luckily for the Democrats, because of the disaster, who is I call him the child in chief, Trump.
Right.
Because of that continual disaster, luckily I think that will overshadow the kind of fallacies of the Democrats.
I agree.
But you're right. I mean that was disgraceful. And again, I've always liked Hillary Clinton, but I find it a little disheartening how she's blaming everyone else for election losses, and it turns out the DNC was kind of the fix was in for her the whole time. And, I think that is very damaging for the Democratic Party. But like I said, thankfully, because of the disasters in the Republican Party right now, I think that'll overshadow that. But
Good.
Moving forward, the Democrats, they need to get rid of the superdelegate system. Okay, primaries need to be more fair,
Mm-hmm.
and the Democratic Party needs to, just abide by what the people want. Clearly, the people last time wanted Bernie Sanders, and hey, like I said, you know what? I think Hillary Clinton would be 10 times better of a president right now. I wish to God she was president right now. I really do.
Yep.
But you know what? She lost, and I think Bernie Sanders would have won. So we need to make sure next primary season that we get a candidate that is favored by the people and that excites the people, and that will get Democratic voters, middle-of-the-road voters, and also sane Republicans out to vote for them. Because, again, Hillary Clinton, as much as I personally liked her, she was not a candidate that she couldn't even get a lot of, voters on the left enthusiastic.
Right.
There's no way in hell she was going to get people in the middle and the center-right. So that's the kind of candidate we need, and we need a primary system that's going to allow us to get to that.
You mentioned the coming primary, but between now and then, we've got another big thing in our political landscape, the midterms, which happen next year, and that's going to be huge. Where do you think we go with that?
I was talking on Donahue Nation about this a few weeks ago, and I was saying, I was happy about the election results from this year in 2017.
Yeah.
I'll personally say, it was great to see my town of Phoenixville go all blue. It was great to see we got a lot of other key victories. I voted for the first time in 7 years. I hadn't voted since 2010.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent away my absentee ballot, make sure I got that in. But for 2018, I'm cautiously optimistic because I'm going to be honest, if the Democrats were like a stronger party, and if I felt they had what it fully took to take on the Republicans and Trump, then I would say, you know what, it should be an easy victory. They should be able to ride just half of the sound bites he said in a month and win big in 2018. But the Democrats, being how they are, the kind of spineless, just sometimes unwilling to take on their opponents, unwilling to, spend, in some cases, some of the money they need to spend to win races. If the Democrats aren't going to take the Republicans on, head on, then I think the Democrats might lose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would really be a shame because 2018 could be a wave election like 2006 was. And I think we could take both the House and the Senate. But it's really going to depend on what kind of candidates we have and, and how Democratic leadership overall is going to form a national strategy to take back enough seats to win each. But I am by no means celebrating yet. I'll be celebrating a Democratic victory I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay. Well, that's
I'm not convinced.
No, that's good, and I agree with you. I think that it's winning in 2018 and 2020 is kind of a twofold thing. First of all, we needed a candidate that people can the Democrats can associate with, that they can feel like is one of their own.
Yeah.
And that was the appeal of Bernie, because he was just an ordinary guy. Didn't have a lot of skeletons in the closet. He was in debt just like you and me. He was, had issues just like you and me. He was just your ordinary guy versus Hillary, who was just kind of seen as this, holier than thou, person that acted better than everybody else and didn't really see a whole lot of difference. Now, obviously, you and I both know that there was a huge difference between her and Trump. But to the ordinary voter, they might not have seen that, and they could have saw her as just another rich Democrat. So I think we need a down home, folksy Democrat, whoever that is, and we also have to have a fair and non-corrupt DNC and a totally just system. And hopefully, I always try to look at things positively, and I say that, yes, what the Democrats might have done in 2016 was bad, but hopefully this was a learning experience, because now they know they're being watched, and they know that this is really going to be, because if they do this twice, then they really are done. so hopefully.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah.
So hopefully
I totally agree.
So hopefully they've learned their lesson from the one big mistake that was exposed with egg on their face, and now they will be a fairer and juster party. That's my hope, and it sounds like you agree.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you what you just said as well. If the Democrats lose in 2018, if they don't they need to take back at least the House or the Senate,
right?
And they need to win some governorships back too, but they need to win back either the House or the Senate, because that would really put the brakes on some of the crazy stuff you're seeing coming out. of the Republican caucus. But then again, I mean, they haven't really done anything anyway. It's just the threat of the dangerous kind of things they could do. Like taxes for raising on the middle class and everything.
Right.
But I also think, they need to win big in 2018 because they need momentum for 2020. If they were to lose big in 2018 and get nothing, then I really don't see why people would really see them as a viable alternative to the Republicans and Trumpism, and they might just, go out and vote for Trump again in 2020. So
right.
The Democrats are our only hope, and that's, they need to win.
I agree. Okay, Dan Donahue, in the final couple of minutes, going to have to let you go soon, so we can keep within the confines of the program that we're airing this on. But I just want to give you a couple of minutes to promote the heck out of your show, where we can find you on Facebook, where we can find you online, where we can get Dan Donahue merchandise. Tell us everything.
Well, no, thank you very much, Mike. Let me just say, a huge shout out to KUR. Because honestly, every day when I go to every Monday when I do go to my studio here in Scotland to the Strathclyde studio to do my show, I certainly always think back to KUR very fondly. So, I mean, I got my start at KUR.
Awesome.
So that'll always be very near and dear to my heart and very important to me. But as far as Donahue Nation, it airs every Monday, at 8 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time here in the UK, and that's 3 p.m. U.S. time, East Coast time.
Okay.
You can find me on Facebook. If you type in Donahue Nation, it's just my name and then Nation. If you type that in, it's a private group, so I only admit people if they ask to be in it. Because I'm trying to, I don't want just kind of random people who just want to be trolls or whatever in there.
Right. That's what I ran into too. Yep.
Certainly, anyone is welcome to join, and contribute to the conversation. And you can find the show itself is www.strathclydefusion.com. That's where you'd be able to listen Mondays. And as far as merchandise, that's I'm working on that. I think we're probably looking realistically. I mean, the holidays are coming up now. Unfortunately, I'm missing Thanksgiving. But the holidays are coming up, so I'm thinking probably after the holidays, we have some designs, preliminary designs, and hopefully the Donahue Nation merchandise will get out there soon because we've had, we've had tremendous success, and I'm not even trying to sound like Trump here. Tremendous success. But no, I've had tremendous success, obviously at KUR, and I'm continuing here with Donahue Nation. Getting a lot of good positive feedback. I'm just really looking forward to seeing where Donahue Nation is going to go in the next 7-8 months or so.
And one more fun cultural question I just want to ask you. Here in the crazy United States of America, people are already got their Christmas trees up. The stations are all playing Christmas music. People are already jamming the stores and all that kind of crazy stuff. They used to wait till at least Thanksgiving, but now it's already going. Do people get that excited for Christmas in Scotland, or is it a little bit more mute?
Oh. Yeah, it's the exact same.
Same thing? Okay.
There was a big lights. They had the light turn on and the fireworks on Sunday.
Okay.
They had Christmas stuff in stores. In fact, when I was shopping for a Halloween costume at the Poundland, their equivalent of the dollar store,
yep.
I actually bought a Christmas shirt and a Rudolph antlers and the nose and everything.
Yep.
So they started that way into October. So
same thing as here. Okay. I was just curious about that. All right. All right. Well, Dan Donahue, I want to thank you so much, and we'll look forward to having you on the air, hopefully around Christmas. Okay.
I look forward to it. Take care.
Take care. You too. Thanks, Doc.